Hey, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about the hover state, which is where CS might start to get a bit more interesting for you. And the hover state, the hover selector, is sort of just an oddity. It's not a total oddity in CSS once you get to know the broader scope of everything in CSS, but for now it's just sort of this weird colon syntax, and we haven't talked about it yet, so let's dive into it. All right, we want to hover some things. So let's do something. We have our A tags here, and we can hover things. So we can say all these, scroll down. You can see what hovering does in the GIF down there. But let's go back up here. So I want to hover the A tag. So how do you do a hover selector? Well, you just put it right on top of, right after the existing selector that you have. No space at all. So the selector we had before was all the A tags within the nav element, and what we do to that is just add this colon hover right afterwards. Okay, so now that we have that, we can say, let's do a background. All right, and you won't see anything different because you're not hovering, but as you hover, now you'll see that things have changed. So this is saying that there's this state. There's sort of a state of the world where someone on your site has their mouse on top of whatever the selector is. And that's called hover. And you can just style that the same way you style anything else. We can do tons of silly things. Let's say, that's not right. Let's say 500 pixels of width when you hover something. Let's see how that works. It does not. The reason that doesn't work is the usual reason these things don't work, because we want display inline block. All right, so now let's try hovering. Ooh, there we go. That's a website. That's sort of hard to use because these all fly around as you hover them. Let's not do that. We could do something like, what else could we do here? We could change the height. That would be easier. Height. Say your height will be 60 pixels, not 360. 60. Hover them. Okay, now we've got it. Yeah. So that's essentially it. You make this hover selector, and so we could. What else do we got here? Let's add something else, just so that there's a bit more of an example here. We'll call this super div, and we need not CSS. We need div, the class of super div, and close it out. And we'll say is the div. Great. Okay. So look at that. You might be looking at this thinking, well, that's kind of weird. Your A tags are overlapping with your div. What's going on there? And what's going on there is that this display property is actually only when you hover an A tag. So up here, or when the A tag is not hovered, it has display inline. So it's going to not allow changing the margins or padding vertically. But when you hover it, it does allow you to do that. So what we need to do is take this line and bring it up there. And now that looks much better. The word better might be a stretch here. No, it looks better. And then we have our div down here. And let's take that div, super div, and we are going to give it some padding. 30 pixels. Hard to tell that that's going on, but we can give it a background too of salmon. Haven't used that color in a while. And let's just give it some margin top. 30 pixels, move it away from that one a bit. Great, and we can hover this one too. So to hover something again, we don't want to copy everything. The selector, super div, and we can say background black, and we're just selecting it normally now, but then we can say colon hover, and now when you hover it is the only time that it does that. So let's do, what's another good color? I think, yeah, we're already using tomato up above, so let's use it again down here. Already using it, might as well use it again. All right. The takeaway here is that with this little bit right here, this bit of text, just colon, hover, right after an existing selector, you can then just write CSS as normal, but it'll only be applied when you hover that thing. So let's make that blue. It was not very obvious before. So when you hover this div, now we get a blue background, and you can go deeper too. Let's actually, before we close out, let's turn this into a p tag. All right, we've wrapped that text in a p tag, and now we can say the same. You can use hover as its own selector too. So it is part of a selector. Now we say when you hover the superdiv, the p tag inside of it is going to be color red. So you see there's red text and a blue background when you hover. We can also just apply it to let's take that. If we move it over here and apply it to the p specifically, you hover this and there's no difference, but then you hover the p tag and you see that it changes color. So now we're saying when it's all very specific to the tag. And if we gave that p tag a background of sky blue, you can see it in there. You can see why when we hover over here before, if we take that away, you can't see that it's taking up the full width. So you hover over here and it might seem a little bit odd that this is turning red, but that's because you are actually hovering the p tag right now. So you hover the outer div, you get some background color, hover the p tag inside of it, you get that color. And now that's a bit more of the gist of how you can use the hover tags. You can get pretty creative with it. And when you add in transitions, you can make some pretty interesting animations without writing much code. All right, that's it for this lesson. See you in the next one.